One of the things that gets in our way when we're trying to recover from chronic illness is the expectations put on us around our time by our modern world. And if you're someone who lives in Western Europe and the United States, especially, there's this pressure about using your time correctly. You have to be busy. You have to be shoving more in. You have to go faster. You have to keep up, whatever that means. But what I want to introduce today is a different idea from a different culture. The Italian culture has a saying and a philosophy of life. It's il dolce far niente. And what it means is how sweet to do nothing. What it translates as is actually the joy of doing nothing. And what the meaning really is not really doing nothing, but it's doing what you love instead of what you're expected to do or what you should do. And in that culture, it's considered an art in itself, the art of enjoyment, the art of indulging yourself in things that nurture you rather than being so worried about moving forward in life and being, proactive and all that. So how does that sound? Because that is something that isn't usually promoted in this country. And I remember a number of years ago, I took an online course about productivity and goal setting. And when I announced to the group that I decided I would spend an hour every evening doing nothing as a goal, the shocked look on their faces made me think that I had just announced that I was going to rob a bank every night or something equally as distressing, which is kind of crazy, isn't it? An hour? I mean, that's not that much time, but they were horrified. Oh my God, you're not going to be productive. So I want to introduce self-care practices under this philosophy. And I'll talk about one of my favorite ways to do nothing, which is to observe and enjoy beauty. And every year in San Francisco at the De Young Museum in Golden Gate Park, they have this wonderful event where they invite floral artists to make arrangements in response to a beautiful and profound piece of art that's already in the museum. And after they do that, they invite the public in to see these responses. So it's an artistic response to a piece of art. And I've been going for years, and I love to dress up like this because that's me participating in this expression of beauty, in this exploration of meaning through beauty. And it's a classical concept from the Renaissance, which is they believe that truth and beauty were the same thing, and that being in the presence of truth and beauty was healing in itself to the person that was involved. And as you can see by these images that I'm showing you, what I do is I go to the show with friends and family often. We all dress up, and then we decide which expressions of the art we prefer. And that's what these pictures are, of these different artists expressing their response to another piece of art. And I think that's quite inspiring. Now, one of the things I've noticed through the years that is interesting is that my favorite pieces almost always involve a Japanese floral artist. And that's no surprise to me because I'm a real fan of Japanese art historically. And I think there's a certain aesthetic sense in that culture that's extremely refined, much like the Italians, by the way. And it's age old. So you see the sort of traditions of balance and harmony and beauty, and especially the Japanese are good at understating it. It's not over-explained, it's not overexpressed. So think about for yourself, how could you excel at doing nothing rather than trying to figure out how to squeeze more into your life? And let me expound on this concept a little more. So the art of doing nothing isn't trying to figure out how to shove more into a time slot. It's about discovering what it is that speaks to you, that you enjoy and that feeds you, and then you clear out space for it. And when I do this, when I go to the museum, it's an all-day affair because everyone gets dressed up. We take our time enjoying the artwork, And then we often go to the cafe, which is actually quite good in that museum, and we enjoy a meal while we talk about the experience. So that's not trying to shove it in, it's honoring it, both in the way I dress, the way we behave, and the time in which we set aside for it. So think about your own life. What are the things that you miss or long for that would be in this category of doing what you love rather than what you should do? And how can you honor that by clearing out time for it and honoring it by, I'm not saying you have to dress up, that's my thing, but that you would make time and space for it appropriately so that you could fully enjoy it, fully remember it, and fully take it in without guilt. The guilt is something you have to work on, because even sometimes when I'm doing this, I'll have a moment of thinking, oh my God, I've got all these things I should do. And then luckily I've gotten better at it, and I just put that aside and say, I'm enjoying this right now. And, that part of my voice in my head, I'm like, you know what, we're fine, and you can just relax and then, go on enjoying. So yeah, think about what is it in your life that you could practice il dolce far niente and on a regular basis and give it as a gift to yourself rather than feeling guilty about quote wasting time, again, whatever that means.